I don't think I could have picked a better time to become a Metal Sonic fan. Because like, he's in the manga, he's gonna be in Sonic 4, that battle skyrocketed his online reputation twice in a row. Like, we're in for a Metal Sonic renaissance of some kind, Metal Sonic Sons. Anyway, we're in for a rebirth of the character, unlike there's ever been before. And if you click on this video, you probably saw a video like this pop up on your feed in the past 2 weeks or so.
Looks like you saw what I'm made of.
Biodata successfully copied.
Huh?
You're going from Resident Evil to residential home, old man.
And that got me thinking, which characters would Metal Sonic be able to copy and defeat? So I put together the characters I seen the most being paired up against him, and I'm gonna do a ranking list to see who I think would win. Yeah, this is a barely scripted video, honestly I put it together very quickly, but you guys have fully supported my Metal Sonic content so far. I love doing it, you guys love watching it. Hopefully you can stand the video with a bit less editing and more of just me talking. So without further ado, let's begin. Like and subscribe for more. I'm still working on that Cell vs Metal Sonic review. Before you start spamming my comments, it's a lot, okay? I got a lot to praise about that episode. Here we have our characters divided in games, cartoons, anime, movies, and the ever-dreaded cape shit genre. I had no idea where to place Optimus Prime and the Doctor, but here they are. Alright, starting off with Samus Aran from the Metroid series. Okay, so what I'm reading in my research, she's anywhere between 95% to 10% human, depending on how you count the various amounts of alien DNA she absorbed over the course of her games, apparently. Wow, which definitely sounds like a really cool character to me. I had no idea about this part of her before doing this research. So I can definitely picture Metal Sonic being pretty damn confused about how much biodata entered in his system all at once, but much like he recently did with Cell, I think he can pretty easily copy Samus and triumph against her, as I don't think she really has anything too abstract for him to copy. Oh boy, we're in for a rematch everyone, Bowser from Super Mario. As Death Battle themselves said, Bowser's powers are all natural, baby. No outside forces, his strength and magic skills are all within him, so he would be able to copy him just fine, but the problem is that, like that episode also highlighted, Bowser already defeated a version of himself, so I don't think Metal can copy his way out of this one. Okay, I swear I can explain why Springtrap is here. I honestly put him here at first because it's funny, but the more I thought about it, the more I like, how would Metal Sonic react to Springtrap? Because like, as you can probably tell, Metal Sonic doesn't need to copy anything to incinerate Springtrap to a crisp. But let's pretend for a second that Metal feels really curious about this type of fury is put up against. Since Metal Sonic is said to be able to copy Blaze's fire powers, which from my research are said to originate from her soul literally being on fire, I don't think it's ridiculous to suggest that Metal might be able to copy some of Afton's more paranormal soul powers, messing with technology, causing hallucinations and stuff. However, I don't think he would be able to master agony on the same degree as Afton, since that part of Afton Soul's powers come from being able to experience incredible amounts of pain, something Metal would not be able to relate to nor replicate, not to mention the level of experience Afton has with it, or the 0.1% of Afton possibly possessing Metal, but I don't think that's possible, although this might change depending on what we cover later, but yeah, he's gonna be there for now. I think Metal wins pretty easily, regardless of how much you can copy. Leon Kennedy. Alright, so the meme goes that if Metal were to copy Leon, he would gain one-liners, the ability to perform amazing flips, and a huge crush for Ada Wong. And in case you hadn't noticed, Metal Sonic kinda already does 2/3 of those, so the only change Metal Sonic would get from copying Leon is becoming slightly more relatable, am I right boys? Hey! God, I can't wait to see MILF Ada in Resident Evil 10. Aang, the last airbender. Okay, remember what I said earlier about metal copying elemental powers, souls, spiritual stuff and such? Well, Chaos Energy, which Metal Sonic can canonically copy, is all about spiritual, cosmic energy, and Avatar is literally all about that. So while I don't think he would gain the skills to become a master bender of elements, I think he would gain all 4 elements pretty damn easily. Not the skills though, again, as I said. But the idea of Metal Sonic suddenly popping up in the Avatar cycle and they all turn around like, Hank, what the fuck is this? It's pretty damn funny, not gonna lie with. Okay, Popeye. Metal Sonic is fucked. Yeah, Metal Sonic is fucked. There's nothing stopping Popeye from literally punching Metal Sonic into a box of scraps. Like, literally, punching him and transmuting him into a bunch of gears and nuts and bolts. It's a pretty bad match for Metal because it's not like Popeye's tooniness comes from his DNA, like a loony DNA from Looney Tunes. He's just like that for real. He can literally unexist himself out of being unexisted, with or without spinach. So like, what can you expect Metal Sonic to do? And Bill Cipher is unfortunately not much better for Metal because it's like, he doesn't really have genetics per se, he's an interdimensional dream demon and like, at best I can see Bill Cipher trying to propose a deal to Metal to end Sonic once and for all, and like, that alone warrants a lot of fanfiction material in my view. Comment down below if you think Metal would accept that deal or not. And here we have the creme de la genetic crop, the hero of heroes, Ben Tennyson. This one is a doozy because yes, Metal Sonic can 100% copy the human being called Ben Tennyson. Yes, Metal has been copying fellow machines just fine, just ask Omega. But the Omnitrix is a DNA replicating machine exactly like Metal, except with thousands and thousands and thousands of biodata samples to pick from. I have honestly no idea how Metal's receptors would react to the Omnitrix. Maybe he could do what Alpha managed to do in that Generator X crossover and grow an Ultimatrix of his own, but I also wouldn't exclude Metal's circus being overloaded by how much biodata he just took in one swoop. However, since there is every reason to in both Ben 10 and Sonic to believe Metal can copy the Omnitrix, can copy the Omnitrix, let's say he manages to, and he tries to fight Ben with it. Ben is no stranger to battling fellow Omnitrix users. Let's say Metal just copies the powers of each individual alien instead. Kevin 11, been there, done that, Ben wins pretty easily. But then this happens. Celestial Sapien biodata successfully copied. What happens when he tries to copy Alien X? It wouldn't be a power scaling video that mentioned Ben 10 without mentioning Alien X, let's be for real. What happens when Metal gets stuck in an endless debate between Bellicus and Serena? Something that not even fellow super genius Albedo managed to escape from. Would he even get 2 separate personalities to chat with? Does it count as a living being? Again, this could fuel another dozen of fanfiction to be honest. But let's say instead Ben turns into Alien X and then Metal absorbs Alien X's powers. Ben now has to deal with a Celestial Sapien level threat, something he, again, already went through. So if we turn off the power scaling brain, I think it's much more likely for Metal to tap into, I don't know, Clockwork or Atomics, as they bring much more familiar ground for Metal to cover. Honestly, the only thing that I think stops Metal from, say, slicing Ben in half during a time stop is the sheer curiosity it would develop after absorbing all that biodata. I think Ben still wins, but like, barely, and I can see this going on and on and on for a while. Before we delve into the ever-dreaded realm of anime and comic books, remember to like and subscribe for more of me rambling about franchises I like, which as you can probably see from this video is a lot. And you will find plenty of content of me talking about them in a power scaling or non-power scaling way. But just to blue ball you a bit longer, let's look at whether Metal could copy Optimus Prime and the Doctor. I'm gonna be dead ass, I don't think Metal is gonna have any difficulty replicating a Cybertronian, because like, they're all machine. And you might say, oh, biodata about living beings. Again, it replicated Omega and Rouge bat bombs just fine. I don't think copying machines is ever gonna be a problem for Metal. What I think Metal is gonna struggle with is the matrix of leadership, which is much more abstract than the average Cybertronian, of course. So at best I can see maybe Optimus being placed here instead, but either way, yeah, let's respect our boy Optimus. I think he goes here. But I think Metal wins pretty easily due to Sonic scaling being pretty damn insane. Although they may share universes depending on what you give to the comics. So if you disagree, feel free to have your voice be heard in the comments. I'm probably gonna get a lot of things wrong in this video. The Doctor. Okay, so Metal Sonic is fucked part 3. Like, it's not even funny. Metal Sonic would explode in the first attosecond of trying to copy the Doctor. You see, biodata is a thing in Doctor Who too, and it includes the individual's entire timeline. And the Doctor is a Time Lord, a being whose true form, essence, is all kinds of timey-wimey, living paradox contradiction bullshit, with enough cosmic retcons in one being to make the average comic book universe blush. Like, look up Doctor Who cosmology in this blog I'm gonna link in the comments down below, and you gotta see what I mean. Because like, you cannot in good faith expect Metal Sonic to be able to copy or do anything to the Doctor, I'm sorry. Sonic Screwdriver, hello? Time Lords canonically rigged their own biodata so that anyone trying to duplicate it will lead to said duplication being destroyed. The Doctor's essence is so otherworldly and other-timely that it would overwhelm Metal and kinda turn him into another Doctor at best. Which, again, the Doctor has had no shortage of encounters with good or evil versions of himself, nor would the concept of time be terribly... And the concept of time isn't too fond of multiple Doctors meeting each other, as often as that happens. Okay, so the good news is that Metal Sonic is not gonna be humiliated to this caliber for a while now. The bad news is what comes after. Goku. Okay, so as you probably, if you clicked on this video, you probably watched the death battle. Metal Sonic can copy Saiyan DNA, basic Saiyan DNA just fine. So, you know, key stuff, flight, Zenkai boost, Saiyan physiology, Super Saiyan boost, all that stuff, all up for grabs. The problem comes with two things, God Ki and Ultra Instinct. The former works way too differently for normal Ki. It requires a whole ritual to get, and the spiritual mastery required for the latter is just too incompatible with the very nature of being a machine, on top of being a divine technique. So yeah, Metal, you win some, you copy some, and you lose some. Now, can Metal Sonic copy Jotaro and other stand users in general? Now, stand users are definitely some of the most interesting types of superpowered people you could possibly ask for this topic. They are fighting spirits after all, more on the abstract than biological, so nothing for Metal to copy, you might say, right? Well, if you remember, there is actually a biological factor to getting a stand. After all, the only reason Jotaro got his was due to Dio getting a stand while using Jonathan's body, and that body sent out a spiral distress signal to other Joestars. This is consistent since in JoJo, when the one person gets a stand, so does the rest of their family usually. Hell, the stand arrow itself contains a virus that alters the user's DNA to unlock stand in the first place. So there is an argument for Metal to be able to copy that. But Hulk, I hear you say, stands all about soul and fighting spirit. There's nothing for Metal to analyze. I would like to remind you that chaos energy is also all about that stuff, and Metal has never had any trouble copying that. Not to mention there have been soulless objects in JoJo gaining stands in parts 7 and 8, which is rather bizarre even for JoJo, not gonna lie. So by copying Jotaro's biodata, I don't think Metal would gain a specific stand or anything, but it would gain the biological psychic activation needed to develop one of its own. Couple of that with his normal stats and already being able to time stop, I think Metal would probably triumph against Jotaro and probably unlock a stand of a very similar type to start Platinum. Oh boy, Gojo, another doozy. and one that might be controversial. This is another funky one because I don't think it's Gojo himself that would give Metal trouble, more so the rules of Jujutsu Kaisen themselves. Let me explain. Jujutsu is an actual force of nature in JJK that reacts to the environment and actions of others, controlling anything related to cursed energy. So the second Metal copies Gojo's cursed energy, he is now bound to Jujutsu. And the second he tries to copy Gojo's 6 eyes specifically, the force of Jujutsu would get mad because there can only be one 6-eye user at a time. So I can see 3 scenarios happening. A. This force of nature that is Jujutsu gets pissed with devastating results for Metal. B. Metal gets corrupted files and tries to copy literally any other technique instead. Or C. Instead of copying the 6 eyes themselves, he copies the effects of 6 eyes, getting maximum perfect analysis of curse energy, which he is fully able to copy just fine. Either way, no 6 eyes means not being able to use infinity/limitless, from what I understand about JJK at least. And I'll try to not get into spoilers, but let's just say that towards the end of JJK there is an attempt to copy Gojo's Gojo-ness, and the person that tried it couldn't get it quite right. Okay, so update. I was gonna finish Gojo's section here, but I did more research and I found out I might have been going off an incorrect translation. It's not that 6 eyes are a literal requirement to activate Limitless, more so that a person would reasonably need to view and control cursed energy at an atomic level for Limitless to work. But since Metal low-key already can scan and calculate things on that level just fine already, and he has no problems with emotion-fueled spiritual energy like chaos energy and ki and stuff, maybe Limitless is not off the table. In that case, honestly, I'm just as shocked as you are. Yeah. Oh god, the comments on this video. What the hell I'm gonna get? Another fellow enjoyer of copy techniques. Kakashi from Naruto. Okay, so I think Metal takes this pretty easily, not gonna lie. Like, again, chakra in Naruto, spiritual life force, it's all within the same being. It's not like it's connected to an interdimensional force or something. I think it's pretty cut and dry that Metal Sonic would copy Kakashi, gain all of the abilities he copied in return, and it's gonna be Metal Sonic vs. Cell all over again. Now, the meme goes that if Metal tried to copy Guts, all he would unlock is depression. So let's see how true that is. Guts' qualities are all inherent to him, so no outside force or abstract nature or something, so his physical stats are up to grabs. When it comes to the spiritual properties of his Dragon Slayer armor, sword and armor, however, or just his immense swordsmanship skills, I don't think Metal can quite copy that. He might, however, replicate the behavior patterns, however. So he might get Guts' hyper-aggression and a relentless drive to fight no matter what, which sounds terrifying when applied to normal Metal Sonic, but I don't think you need me to tell you that poor Guts is screwed either way. Alright, here we go in the movie section, and not gonna lie, this is gonna be a banquet for Metal Sonic, because like Terminator is a machine, Metal Sonic can already turn into a T-1000 in terms of metal goo. Here we go. Darth Vader, already part machine, already corrected to a spiritual life force of some kind, and boop. Godzilla is interesting. Godzilla is pretty interesting because, like, do I think Metal Sonic would be able to copy 99% of the standard power set Godzilla has in most situations? Like, regeneration, underwater breathing, atomic breath, all that jazz? Yes, without a doubt. But if you're talking about stuff like Ultima Godzilla, like the archetype and stuff, that would be a problem for Metal Sonic. That would be a problem. But since that's such a unique version for Godzilla to go off of, I think it's pretty safe to say that Metal Sonic can solo most versions of Godzilla. So the partially here is only because of Ultima, honestly. But it's what it is. Yeah. Mechagodzilla is another Metal Sonic matchup I once did a short for regarding the movie versions. But yeah, whether we're talking about the fully robotic Mechagodzilla, the Mechagodzilla mind controlled by aliens, or the Mechagodzilla that's possessed by the spirit of a former Godzilla or a King Ghidorah, I think Metal Sonic should be able to replicate him just fine. Again, he's a machine, maybe some spiritual stuff here and there, but not nearly enough to, you know, get in the way of copying. And now, comic books. Oh boy, oh boy, oh boy. I gotta grab my script again. Oh boy. Okay, so as you may know, emotions are a pretty damn big part of being a Green Lantern. So Metal is not off to a strong point. And it gets even worse since he cannot copy the power ring. As it is not an inherent part, it's a tool separate from him, fueled by a network of cosmic emotional energy that scales way too high above Metal. Without any way to channel the emotional spectrum, Metal simply cannot generate any construct, energy blast, or reality warping thingy that the average Green Lantern can brag about. So by scanning Al Jordan, he would become a great pilot, I guess? That's something. Barry Allen, aka The Flash. Okay, may the Speed Force be with you, Metal, because you're gonna need it. But not get it, unfortunately. Because, like, Barry's powers come from a cosmic energy field that exists outside of space-time itself, above the DC cosmology. So, there's nothing biological, genetic, nor related to internal life energy, I fear. Metal Sonic would have a much easier time copying Quicksilver, that's perfectly doable. However, I do think Metal's body would be altered in a way that better withstand and react to immense speeds closer to Flash, which might sound like a lot if you agree with that battle about Sonic's verse being quote-unquote just a lot of times the speed of light, but it's really nothing new if you agree with takes closer to mine, where I perfectly agree with the immeasurable speed scaling Sonic. So while I think Metal Sonic can copy the hardware, it cannot quite replicate the software. Still though, without access to the more reality warpy side of Speed Force shenanigans, I'm afraid Metal is gonna gain a new speedster to focus his hatred on. Martian Manhunter, my boy. Yeah. I mean, yeah, he is everything, every single part about Martian Manhunter's power set is all him, is all biology, like, is all him. His DNA, his Martian cells. A Metal Sonic with the powers of a DC Martian is an absolute nightmare. You do not want that in any verse, especially compared to the higher scaling Martian Manhunter might be able to reach. And if you think that Metal Sonic cannot copy stats that go way beyond his usual pay grade, then I'm gonna put poor John Jones here. Yeah, I think it's fair. Venom! I got that right, Venom! Okay, so Venom again. The symbiote is all biological, the human being inside it is all biological, but I am extremely curious on whether Metal would absorb only the symbiote or the combination of symbiote and Eddie Brock, aka Venom. I'm actually really curious about that, but I also think Metal would have zero problem defeating most versions of Venom. If you wanna bring King in Black into this, I don't have the expertise to talk about that, I'm sorry. The Jolly Green Giant, Hawk. Okay, so Hawk's memes are actually my favorite when it comes to Metal Sonic. There's one meme where Metal Sonic copies Bruce Banner, Hawk says, "Hawk low-key don't give a fuck." Then Bruce Banner dies and Metal Sonic is at the green door like, "Excuse me sir, this door is taken." Now don't get me wrong, would Metal be able to copy some of Hawk's strength, endurance and regeneration just fine since he's a Gamma mutate? Yes, 100%. The problem comes with the very nature of Marvel's Gamma, which as you're probably aware of if you subscribe to that battle and follow power scaling channels like mine, the cosmic nature of the Green Door, Immortal Hulk, the One Below All and all that jazz probably would not mesh well with Metal, but I am actually uncertain about whether the One Below All would destroy Metal or try to possess him. Because while it's true that the One Below All can possess gamma mutated beings, this argument assumes that Metal is a valid host, and he's not an organic being, he doesn't have any spiritual framework, he doesn't have a confirmed soul, nor a gamma based origin. So while it's not impossible to imagine what's basically Marvel's Satan possessing Metal, and that would probably get us the closest we've ever gotten to Metal Sonic EXE, there's also no clear evidence that it can possess non-living creatures or entities that are not part of the Gamma network, which Absorbing Man was, so it cannot be used as an example. And as fun as it is to imagine, the metaphysical nature of the system that allows Hulk to resurrect via the Green Door is probably outside of Metal's reach. Without a biological life cycle or soul, what would even count as death for Metal? It would just be repaired by Robotnik, no? There is no clear trigger for the Green Door to activate, even if he somehow replicated gamma traits. So limited copying is viable, but full copying is unfortunately not an option. Wolverine, the one who is best at what he does, and he sure does a lot. Again, to the shock of absolutely no one, he's a mutant, he's all natural, everything about him is from him. Metal Sonic would gain a cool vibranium makeover, a cool adamantium vibranium makeover, pop up massive claws, regenerate like a boss, probably smoke cigars, all that stuff. Yeah, he would get all those things just fine. And now, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Metal Sonic is Fucked Part 5. Ultron is the worst possible matchup for Metal Sonic you could possibly ask for. Canonically speaking, Metal has awful cybersecurity. He has shown zero resistances to being hacked or have his data being overwritten. There is a whole specific ability by one of the Deadly Six in Sonic that shuts down machinery, and it worked on Metal effortlessly, without problem. So any attempt to copy Ultron would honestly result in the Avengers Nemesis counter-copying Metal and assimilating him into his cyberspace or something, just like he did with Sigma, while also infecting Metal with more personality disorders than the entirety of Arkham Asylum combined. You think Existential Crisis is bad? Welcome home, daddy and mommy issues. I honestly don't even think you need Father Ultron scaling for Metal to be colossally fucked. And this is my ranking. Honestly, it's almost shockingly spread out. I know I picked an even number, but yeah, this honestly makes perfect sense to me. He's perfectly able to replicate and defeat the guys and gals whose abilities come from 100% them or spiritual life energy stuff. He's mostly able to replicate people that have one or two things he cannot fully copy. He is not able to defeat everyone he can copy, especially if the person has had experience battling versions of themselves, they're fueled by something metaphysical, or hey, it's me, Goku. and as I'm sure not even the biggest glazers of Metal Sonic actually thought, he cannot copy the more abstract side of things, or someone literally made to be Metal Sonic worst matchup possible. So yeah guys, I hope you enjoyed this video. I enjoyed recording this more, sudden video per se. It kind of blew out of nowhere. I kind of got this idea and I went for it. I hope you guys liked it. Like and subscribe for more. I'm gonna go back on writing that Metal Sonic vs. Cell review. Probably drop a few shorts about Bakugo and Reze, but I'm not gonna promise I'm gonna deliver a full Bakugo Reze prediction video just yet. I need to see how's my schedule for that week. So until then, doing lots of other, I'll do the same. Hoku Krypton, hoping I made your day slightly more metal.